Hello, vinyl community. This is Steve, the eclectic record collector, with the 2025 alternative mashup video tag that was originated by Pretty Green Vinyl Guy back in November of 2024. When I first read the questions, I wasn't terribly excited about it. It didn't seem to be a really good fit for me and the way I collect records, and the way I feel about my collection. But thinking about it, I decided to do it, but with the idea that in some cases, one record answers more than one question, and in some cases, one question needs several records to answer. So, to start off with the first question, which was the best purchase of 2024, old or new. I believe I made this in 2024, maybe 2023. I'm not clear on that, but this is the original first pressing of Tool's Anima. I found this in a guitar shop that sold records. They had up on the wall a whole bunch of other, rare records that were all ruined. Rare, test pressings that all beat the crap. But this was pristine. And so I wasn't certain if it was the real deal or not. So I went home and did some research and found out, that it did have all the right matrix number and all the details to be a first pressing, and that people who have owned this record said yes, it's a really good sounding record. They did a really good job with it. And so I went back and bought it. Yeah, it's the most expensive record I've ever bought. But there's the inside gatefold. I keep it inside. I keep all my records inside sleeves, but just for brevity and convenience, I'm not putting them in the plastic sleeve just so I can make it easier. Okay. Yes, I spent more money on this than any other record I've ever owned, but in the years before this, I've been selling my own records, and since I've been collecting records for so long, records I paid not much money for in today's standards sold for a lot more. So if I counted up all the records I sold to buy this, I didn't spend that much. And a while back, I decided to change my collecting idea, in that I went from a fun collector, whereas, yeah, I like it, I'll buy it, it's fun, add it to the pile, add it to the stacks. But as you get older, you don't have time to listen to like 10,000 records. So I'm selling records to buy better, fewer records, and this is the case. So this is one off the bucket list. And it reminded me the sound of this music, not the music itself so much, what the Tool, the band, intended for the music, but just my impression, thinking back on the experience of listening to this record on my sound system and just being immersed in it. It reminded me of a dream I had a long, long, long time ago, back when I was like 19, 20, I don't know, out of college, I think, I don't know. So it was a color, a deep, deep, deep red color. And with that color was a sense of containment, not confinement, but containment. And that's what it was. It's just, for however long it lasted, that was the entire dream that night, was to just experience that color and feeling contained. And when I woke up, I was like, I've never had a dream anything like that before. What could it have been? Maybe it was like re-experiencing being in the womb. Maybe something in this music, triggered back in the days when I was like studying art, and the Mark Rothko Chapel in Texas, which I've only seen pictures of, but it's a chapel with all these paintings around that are all these big, deep, dark colors, and maybe there's some sort of subliminal thing going on in that. I'm not sure, but it reminded me of that. And to answer question number 7 of Pretty Green Vinyl Guys vinyl tag, if my wife of over 30 years dumped me, what would I play? Well, yeah, I'd pick this one up because it's dark and it makes me feel contained. So, there you have it. Okay, next question. Best band from your home country. Now, some people would argue Tool is the best band from the USA, but I think we should go with a jazz band. And there's plenty to choose from, but I'm going to go back to Duke Ellington and Masterpieces by Ellington. Okay, this is a first Columbia Canadian pressing on Blue Label. You can see that, it's the Blue Label. The U.S. pressing was green. I got this at a record show, $10, pristine condition, a little tape around the cover. But I played this on my home system, and it was very impressive. But then I took it over to a friend of mine's house, who has a JE Labs setup that basically he built himself. Vintage tubes, vintage capacitors, all vintage gear, vintage turntable, vintage mono cartridge, and we listened to it on a pair of original quad electrostatic speakers, and it was mesmerizing, especially Mood Indigo, just breathtaking. Okay, from 1952, I think it was, maybe 54. I forget exactly the year of this, and we were all very, very, very impressed by that. So when I could, I went and bought the Impex 45 RPM 2LP version of this. I played it on my system, and my God, it just astounding, just astounding how good this was. I really highly recommend it. I recall back, my parents, whenever Duke Ellington's name was mentioned, because my dad was a big band saxophonist until I came along, and they would go, Mood Indigo. Oh, they would just, yes, they're just reverent, and I totally understand it. Yeah, the guys in this band, they all went on to make their own stuff, and this is just a killer record, and Duke Ellington went on for many years and was highly influential on the music of the world. So absolutely, Duke Ellington and his band. Okay, next question I'm going to answer is an favorite artist, who's a member of 2 or more bands, and an album that I never tire of. Okay, 2 questions in one. That would have to be John McLaughlin, Extrapolation. One of the few albums, and I own a lot of albums, that I would call a perfect album. Every note on it, every chord, everything about it, it's just perfectly in place. I've listened to this many times. I've had countless reissues of this. This is the original on Marmalade. I finally found one in the UK and sent away for it, and extremely happy that I did. I've had several Polydor issues. This one sounds really good, really better than the Polydors I've had, and yeah, a perfect record. Of course, about a month after I got that record, I go into a local shop, and they had another one. So now I have 2 of my favorite record original near mint condition. And I ain't complaining. Ain't complaining at all. Okay. Next question. Okay, next question. An RSD purchase you still actually listen to. That would be several. I still listen to several of them. Probably one of my favorites is, I may have spoken about this before, is Pink Floyd, the Polish jazz music group. I just really, really like it. I like to get another one of theirs, but I'm going to have to send to Poland or the UK for it because none in this country have shown up. Okay, but there's more than one Record Store Day record. This one, Liaisons de Dangerous. The music he made for the French film that Miles Davis also did that was never really released, but except maybe in parts and bits. And this was issued on Record Store Day as a first. They got it first, but then they re-released it later, and I think that's what this copy is. But I got a lot of Monk records, a whole lot of them. This is a really, really good one. Playing and recording are superb. He doesn't sound like he's just going through the motions like some of the later ones, and it's fresh. Excellent, excellent record. Okay, one of my favorite records of all times, Animals and Leaders, their first debut record. It is one of this kind of metal, intellectual metal, acoustic metal. My first listening to this, I imagined that I was a wolf chasing down a deer. It's just so driven. And it's like Tosin Abisi guitar work and the percussionists together. It just exciting. It got me into the whole genre. I have all their other records on vinyl, but this is, I think, still the best. Absolutely killer. And then this is the first pressing. Is it on colored vinyl? Yeah, it's on some green vinyl. I think it came in various colors. I had a second pressing on yellow vinyl, but I sold it because Record Store Day issued it again. Okay, now they actually added you can tell this is a Record Store Day because it has the extra track, which is a demo track, which it didn't really add anything to the album, but that's it. And also the barcode's smaller and different. And but sonically, it's almost identical. It sounded better than the second pressing I had. So it's almost identical to the first pressing. And while I was at it, I bought two of them. I haven't opened this one. This one's still sealed. Yeah, killer record. Okay. Now, I also recently got this one. The Warning Error 404. Now, I'm not sure why it's referred to that, but maybe because they screwed the labels up so you have the same label on both records. And you have to, one's red, one's blue, one's live, one's not, but it's a Mexican power trio, all girls, and they kick ass. This is a really, really, really fun record, really exciting. I really recommend it. It's a reissue, I guess, of a earlier one, but I've listened to this several times. So yeah, that's my Record Store Days that I still listen to. Next question. Okay, next question, 3 great singles. Okay, now one of the reasons I was kind of delayed in getting this video together is because I've gotten myself in a DJ gig. I've had a couple of Technics 1200s Mark IIs for a while, and I finally got the cases for them because I finally got a gig DJing in a Thai restaurant, no less. They used to have live jazz, and now a friend of mine who knows the owner, and I DJ'd his party, and so it's like, okay, we got this thing, first Thursdays on at the Thai restaurant, Spice and Dice. So now I'm starting to be more interested in 45s, but before that, I managed to have a few 45s. Now I'm going to play them out. So First one that I'm going to show is Link Ray Rumble. This is the first of the first recording this, I think, 45. And I have a thing for Link Ray. I mean, I have a thing for all Native American rock and roll music because I have some heritage that ancestors that were Native American. So something about it, I don't know, subliminal, whatever, it appeals to me. So that's Link Ray. And then I guess as the electric record collector, I got to show the Kinks. I'm not like everybody else. Great Kinks tune. I like the Kinks, the early Kinks. And although Discog says that the largest group of collectors on Discogs are eclectic. Their collections are eclectic. Yeah, so what the hell. And then this one I found in a thrift store. The Tarantulas surf rock band. Black Widow and Tarantula. Really cool surf rock, you know? Okay, there's three. 345s. I got a lot more. Okay, next question. Beatles or Stones? I mean, that's such a 70s question. I mean, a lot of these questions were, you know, seem to be oriented in the 70s, which I can't really complain about that much because, yeah, I got a lot of stuff from the 70s. There's a lot of great music from the 70s. But, you know, you got to move on. You got to go somewhere else. But anyway, yeah, the favorite Beatles album, Abbey Road. This is the UK first pressing with the offset apple. Can you see that? Okay. Oh, there you go. Offset apple. Okay. Yeah, I had the money. I went and splurged and got a copy. Still the best sounding I've ever heard, except for the pressing without the offset apple, the same year. And yeah, the Beatles, they really were hugely influenced in various genres of music. I mean, the White Album, which I think is the penultimate album of the 20th century, the apotheosis of the album. It's just one of the greatest albums of all time, and I think bookmarks the entire 20th century. That album had so many influences and set off so many different genres later, styles of music, and then they kind of crashed and burned. You know, broke up, and they all went their individual ways. I'm still buying some Paul McCartney albums. Ringo just put one out. So yeah, I really prefer the Beatles, and yeah, but the downside of the Beatles is the earworms. Their tunes are so catchy. They're so that whenever I play the Beatles, I mean, I'm listening to the Beatles in my head for 2 weeks afterwards. I really hate earworms, but I love the Beatles, but I don't. It's this love-hate thing. It's like, you know, earworms. Ugh. But then the Stones, the Rolling Stones. Okay, here's my UK of Rolling Stones number 2. It's not first pressing; it's an early one. There we go. Here we go. Early Decca mono. I only really like the Stones in mono up to, like, I think Beggar's Banquet, and I got a nice stereo of that. But yeah, they're consistent, really consistent. They're still doing the same thing. You know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or just more sex. You know, the recordings aren't real stellar. I mean, sonically, I think they were designed to sound best in a 4-inch car speaker. You know, to get your, like, you know, girlfriend like all hot. You know, it's just, I don't know. But they're fun. Yeah, but yeah, I really prefer the Beatles. Okay. Okay. Now, the best album from 1974, which is a repeat question. Someone asked that, last vinyl tag, and I said, Charlie Rouse's 2 is 1 on Strata East was my favorite. Still is. I mean, it's a fantastic album. Um, and I talked about it before, but since it's a repeat question, I'll show you my other copy of it because this one I paid like a whole $8 for. It's in better condition than the one I paid 60 for. And I love a certain record store that just really didn't look things up. I was there whenever I could be there, twice a week, whenever. I just see what was new, and it always had some goodies. So, yeah, but there are plenty of honorable mentions for 1974, like Cosmic Vortex by Weldon Irvin. This is my only OG Weldon Irvin album because you just don't find them anywhere. They never show up. It's a really, really good one. One of my favorite records of all time, 1973, but close enough. Pahlavi, South Indian flute music, mastered by Robert Ludwig. And I had this record when it first came out. This is probably a different copy of it. I have a couple other copies of it. I buy it whenever I find it. It is just beautiful. Turned me on to South Indian music, which is different than North Indian music like Ravi Shankar and Ali Akbar Khan. This is much more folksy, much more rustic in many ways. And again, it has a fresher quality to it. Like a lot of times with ragas, okay, we know we're going to start out slow, we're going to build up, and it's like, okay, kind of has the same pattern. And this is different. So whenever I see South Indian, music, I pick it up. I've got plenty by now. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful album. Highly recommend it to anyone. Also from 1974, Snowflakes Are Dancing. This is the quad version, which I prefer to the other versions. And since we're keeping tabs, yeah, I got two of these too. Really, I got another one I got back in the day when it first came out. It really kind of. I was going to use this as an album that defines the genre, but the genre of electronic classical music is so small that it really, I don't know, it really was appropriate. I have something else for that question anyway, but it had some predecessors like Charles Warren's Times Encomium, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen just sang Jujunning. I swear, if Debussy was alive when he heard this, he would have switched to electronics. It really, really opened up the field of electronic music, I think, to making really, really beautiful sounds, really, really very interesting programming. So I think it's a landmark in terms of electronic music. But if you want to show an album that defined the genre, there's really only one that really fits the bill, and that's Ornette Coleman's free jazz. I mean, that's what they called it after this. Everybody else, that's what they're playing, is free jazz. This is my original stereo, white fan label stereo, and most excellent. Have lots of Ornette records. This is one of my favorites. Next question is best-selling drums. Okay, lots of drum records that have lots of great drumming on it and things like that. But they stand out. I have to say, one that's shockingly good is the first track on Brilliant Belson Sound. Is Drums and Orchestra. The first track on side one, Drum Foolery, on the stereo version. When he hits that kick drum, it just fills the goddamn room. It's just boom. It's just there. It's like you're just surrounded in the sound of this drum. And he's whacking on it. He's rolling, doing the snare. It's just fantastic. Nothing like it. Nothing really like it except, well, I guess some other records. But yeah, big drum sound, which is also what happens on this one. This is Musical Heritage Society copy of a European album. It's the Rite of Spring by, the Strasbourg Philharmonic Orchestra, Alain Lombard director. Now, this is not as big an orchestra as, say, Berlin or London or anything like that. It's a kind of a smaller, orchestra. But so when the timpanis come in, it's mind blowing. It really just boom. It's really really primitive. It just It's like suddenly you're transformed back 5,000 years. It's great. One of these days I'm going to get the UK copy of this. But this is like easy enough to find, like $10 or $12, and it sounds great. I really recommend it. I mean, I have a collection of Rite of Spring records. Dorati is probably the best, on Mercury Living Presence. I just got one of those, but the drums on this really, it's really, you got to hear it. You got to hear it. Also for drumming, I got this record in a collection. This is the Rhythm Devils, but this is the Wilson Audio copy of it, which was designed to play on Wilson Audio $250,000 speakers or whatever. And yes, it sounds like your head's inside the speaker. It really they sound perfect, almost too perfect. It's like it sounds so detailed that you kind of forget what they're playing. The music kind of like pales in comparison to the sound of the music, which I guess if you're got $250,000 speakers, that's what you're looking for, right? It's best sounding drums. Also fun is George Anthill's Corroboree. This is the original on Everest. I got this because I got this reissue, and I had to hear it. It's like it's fantastic, orchestrated mayhem, and this is the original sound, just a smidge better than the reissue, because Analog Productions did the original. That's not in Analog Productions, but it's probably what they pressed after they did their 5,000. But this is loads and loads of fun. And but if we're talking drummers, okay, these are I've showed you big boomy, bashing things like that. So now we're gonna go into just technique. Tony Williams, Lifetime, his first record, with Sam Rivers, Bobby Hutcherson, Herbie Hancock, Richard Davis, Gary Peacock, and Tony Williams on drums. An amazing jazz record. And this is the original mono, and I got this one because I had a stereo. I wanted to hear the mono. Okay, I want to hear the mono because I love Sam Rivers, and he really shines on the mono, because it's like all center channel, and Tony is there backing them up. But on the stereo, this is not the original stereo. This is later 1973 stereo. On the stereo, which has the sort of not quite so hard pan as some of them are, but Tony's on one channel, Sam's on the other. The bass player is sort of in the middle somewhere. But because of that, you can really hear what Tony's doing, and how he can go down from like loud to like just tiny little delicate sounds. It's just exciting as hell. It's just one of the best drummers that ever existed. And this I think was before he played for Miles, and I think he played with John McLaughlin not too long, after that in Emergency, and a lot of records that were so goddamn poorly recorded. I don't understand it. They were such, Larry Young, John McLaughlin, Tony Williams. I mean, what a trio. And they just don't sound good. All right. Next question is, you found a bag of weed. What are you gonna listen to? All right. Well, back in the day in the 70s, Yeah, I have to wonder because yeah, I was a starving artist. I was in the A&P. I got reached in my pocket to get my food stamps out, and my bag of weed fell out. And I didn't know it. And so yeah, I lost the bag of weed. I wonder who found that. But these days, I mean, I don't have any use for it. Uh, Psychiatrist down the street, he did gummies every day. He gave me one 40 milligram THC gummy. So yeah, you might well you cut it into pieces. I did. I cut just cut it into quarters. I did one. I was stoned for 6 hours. I couldn't tried to go to sleep and watch cartoons on the back of my eyes. It was too much. Everything was just too weird. Music was too weird. It's not my thing. I don't smoke anything anymore. Uh, but back in the day, yeah, I would, I'd toke up a bowl and put the headphones on and listen to metal, you know, and just zone out, into space, and there you are. Here's my original UK. You're just you, and you're just floating along. It kind of reminds me. I mean, I was an artist uh, for most of my life, so I know some things about being an artist and about making art, and yeah, this thing where it's like just you and the music you're creating, and yeah, that kind of like I'm just floating in space with the music, the headphones. Yeah, if you're not an artist, that kind of thing might take you into a similar kind of place. It's just your things are just simplified. In fact, that's one reason why I collect records, why I listen to music, and music has sort of uh, replaced making art for me. Oh, there's other reasons I'll get into in a minute, but yeah, that was that record. Now nowadays, I'd rather you know pour a single malt or something like that, have a nice beer. I used to make beer, made beer for 17 years, but yeah, I'd rather relax with that, and I'm not listening to metal so much, and I'm listening to like great Italian prog. You know, uh, I might listen to some Basque prog. All from kind of influenced. So yeah, it's different, uh, and I kind of moved on from things. All right. Best live album in your collection. Okay. Now I had an album picked out. It was the Mihaly Dresch Quartet live and issued in 1988 from the was it the Cologne Jazzhaus Festival of 1988, the 10th, April 10th, Cologne, Germany. Uh, it's a great free jazz album, Hungarian free jazz. He's famous for that. Very passionate, very well played. Uh, and then they re-released it the next year, in 1989, the same year that the Soviets left Hungary and they formed their own government. And yeah, it was kind of tough. I mean, they'd been occupied by the Germans and the Soviets for so many years, and then they were on their own. And yeah, it was rough going, and but they made it, and they had a thing going. But yeah, it hard to uh, hard to break the yoke of the authoritarianism. Anyway, they retitled it. Let's see if I can pronounce it correctly. Serhaja Kiru. Right. It means literally bitter sigh. And yes, I can well understand that if you heard the music, and it sounds very Hungarian. In fact, my friend who goes to Hungary uh, frequently brought me back this bottle of Unicum, which supposedly is the national drink, of Hungary, which I'm not sure I believe it or not, because when you take a sip of it, you get this sort of medicinal herbal kind of thing, and then wham, here's this bitter aftertaste that stays there and doesn't go away for 15 minutes. You even try putting it in a cocktail, and that's the last thing you taste is bitter, bitter taste. And he tells me that today in Hungary, under Viktor Orban, uh, he's a poet, and the venues for poetry are, well, they're there, but they're getting more and more diminished. It's becoming much more of a monoculture. It's not freedom, despite what they say. Anyway, little political rant there. Okay. Okay, you may have noticed I didn't show the album. I can't find it. And looking for it, I found another live album. Okay, and that's the Murphys. Nashville Sound presents the Murphys live. It's even autographed. I don't know if you can see it, in kind of pencil. The whole family has autographed it. Okay, and I've had this record for quite a while. I got it, in a batch of records of please take these disco records off my porch. Okay. I've always really liked this record in that it's after listening to 40 years of free jazz and avant-garde stuff, this is is bizarre, and it's refreshing, and it's it's kind of a fun record because these guys, they really put out, talented, they don't miss a beat, they don't miss a note, but yeah, it's exactly what it looks like. It's, they're from Australia. They're immigrants. They moved to America to make it big in Nashville, Las Vegas, wherever they could do it, and they put out an album, and they had there was something going on, and yeah, they're absolutely sincere about what they're doing. So yeah, I always appreciate that. Okay, next question. I don't even have an album for this one because an artist whose political stance has soured you. Well, nobody. As an artist, I know that there's a separation between the artist and the work that the artist does. Okay, once you've made something, technically you have some ownership rights to it, but it's not yours anymore. It's the audience's, it's the public, it's whoever is out there. All those things you intended, maybe they're there, maybe not, but it's not for you. You can tell people about it, but it's for them to find it themselves. So I don't really care. I don't really care what the political stance of an artist is. I don't care. If they're, it's the work, it's the art. That's what's important. Okay. Got into art as a way of, because politics is okay, you're trapped in the house, and your mother and your father are constantly bickering, arguing, and threatening each other. So what do? You go into your room, you put on the stereo, you listen to music, and you escape into the music, because what you're surrounded by is making you nuts. So that's why I became an artist, because it's healthy. It's healthy to get away from the day-to-day, the turmoil, the things like that. It's healthy for you to do that. Art can do that. Meditation can do that. That's the whole idea of meditation. You have a mantra, and you kind of empty your mind and just focus on this one thing, and possible to renew the world. But we're in political times now, so keeping with our current new theme now here, let's go with question: an album from the 80s you still listen to. Now, technically, this was not an 80s album, but this is an 80s issue of it. 20th, King Crimson, Court of the Crimson King. Who could that be? Yes, this is, again, another phenomenal record. And this pressing is absolutely the finest, best-sounding pressing I have ever heard. I recently got to listen to this on the $250,000 sound system at Gramophone, and it was breathtaking, breathtaking. Your first track, 21st Century Schizoid Man, which morphs into I Talk to the Wind. When I Talk to the Wind comes on, suddenly you could actually feel the music envelop you. It was like night and day, from this rough, jangly, gnarly guitar into a flute music. It's just wonderful. So, and also, to answer the question, the best 3 lines out of the music. Now, there's loads I could do with that, but I'm going to pick one from this album. I'm going to say it's from 21st Century Schizoid Man. Death's seed, blind man's greed, poets starving, children bleed. Nothing he's got he really needs. 21st Century Schizoid Man. Now, who the hell could that be about? Okay, question 17. Who would I be reincarnated, living or dead, if I could? It's not something I've ever really thought about. But, given how I like to come back as somebody who was successful and preferably still alive, although that's a kind of odd question. So I'm going to go with Herbie Hancock. This is this beautiful album, The River, all Joni Mitchell tunes. She even sings on it, along with other vocalists. Really beautiful album. He came to town not too long ago and played a live concert, but I didn't get tickets. I got this album instead. Very, very happy with it. But yeah, Herbie's had a good life. He's been married to the same woman for all these years. He did have a little problem with drugs, it looks like, but his family got him out of it, and he's had a long and successful career, and he's still making good music. So I wouldn't mind having a career like that. I mean, I tried, but what I was doing at the time was too far ahead, and didn't make any money. And now I could. Now I'm too old to do it. Anyway, let's go to 20 questions. Recommend some favorite VC channels, and I'm going to go with starting off with Calvin Wazoo, because he's got eclectic taste, and he pops things up that I'm kind of interested in. And he popped up Piglet as one of the best math rock albums of all time, and I kind of have to agree. It's a little hard to find, but yeah, I think it's quite nice, and I've played it several times already. So Piglet's really good. And we'll go with Tokyo Record Style. His 20th anniversary, being in Tokyo for 20 years, vinyl tag was probably my favorite vinyl tag of all times, even though I haven't done that many. But he really asked questions that got into the heart of the music. What record would you play for a sunrise? I mean, come on, really, really beautiful stuff. So I recommend him, although he tends to be not just talking about records, but talking about things in Tokyo and photography. He takes you on tours of the city and various record shops, and it's usually pretty interesting. But he does talk a lot, and he does post a lot of videos. So it's a good thing. And last but not least, Abigail DeVoe. I'll pop up links to these people, but she is the best, I think. Talking about records, she does Vinyl Mondays, and she'll talk about one record, and she goes deep dive into it. She tells you the history, all the interest, the rumors, what her opinions of the record are, and she dresses appropriately. It just really spot on. And maybe it's a record you've known about for a long time, but I guarantee you'll find out some things you probably didn't know. And yeah, she's absolutely the best at this kind of thing. Of all, there's lots of VC people that I watch, and they're interesting. But everybody's. I think you got to really check her out. All right. Well, thank you very much, and that's it for this. Now, okay, I want to say a little bit more about Ornette Coleman's free jazz because, like I said, I don't know if I've said it yet. I I was an artist most of my life. I don't make art anymore. There's reasons for that, which have to do with cultural politics, culture wars, and technology, and trying to keep up with the technology of art making that will still actually pay you real money. Well, I'm retired now, and I'm making some videos, and maybe I'll do something creative later on. But for now, I want to show you. There you can see there it is. It's Jackson Pollock painting, which is you're not going to be able to see it very well, and it's not even a very good reproduction. Back Jackson Pollock's White Light. Now, I had a bit of epiphany with Jackson Pollock, and to summarize that simply is if you're looking at this, you see this, okay, and you look at that and you immediately try to find one word, one idea to describe it all, then you're not really seeing. And notice I didn't say seeing it. You're not really seeing. It's something about how we understand visual information. It's a lot different than how we understand text and language, things that come in linear time. It's a different thing. And that was my thing. Uh, and now a lot of art, it's the message first, which is, to me, not that not that much different than advertising or any other kind of messaging. When I was 6 years old, I had another epiphany, I guess. I down in my basement playing with my dinosaurs and soldiers or whatever like that. And the TV was on. We had a TV back then, and commercial came on. It was for Micron mouthwash. I didn't use mouthwash, but yeah, it was there. And in my mind, I thought, God damn, Micron mouthwash. I go, wait a minute. I just sinned because God knows what I'm thinking. It's thinking in your mind. That's what Sunday school told me. Even to think a sin is to sin in the eyes of God. I also knew that I had no control over when that micro mouthwash commercial was going to ever show again, and they always showed again, and I knew that I was going to think, God damn, so I knew that I was going to sin whenever that came on. And I thought, something's really messed up with the with the the messages I'm getting in the world. And I decided, from there on in, I'm kind of skeptical about messages. I kind of trust my senses and my eyes and what happens, and not so much what I'm told what happens. So anyway, that's my little speech about that. I may follow this up with a amalgam of various other vinyl tags for 2025. There's a dozen or so of them. They all have questions, and I may mash up a few questions and do a follow up to this. And I'd really like to start doing my own thing. I want to do a thing about trios, power trios, jazz trios, something about the trio that just really kind of works for me. And I got a bunch of records in various genres that involve trios. So that's it for now, and thank you very much.